What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, and from Rockford, Illinois.
I'm Jazz Keys. Hello.
What is up? And most Wednesday evenings at 9:30 p.m., we do something called Stuff. And Stuff is all about international conversations hosted by a Black woman and a Black man, giving our POVs on current events and culture. So you guys are tired of me, so Jazz, tell them who you is.
Hey everyone, I am Jazz Keys. I am the co-host of Stuff, and like he said, we are here most Wednesday nights. I am a life coach. I'm currently in my PhD program to get my degree in clinical psychology. I specialize in empowerment, specifically as it speaks to business, loving relationships, and parenting. I'm a writer, just published my first book, and of course, I get to have epic conversations with great people on Wednesday evenings about things that affect us from a Black man and Black woman's point of view.
Excellent. And we're very blessed and highly favored. Actually, I'm going to ask this gentleman to maybe move his camera down a bit because I want to see that. That's better. I love. He's sharp. He's sharp. So we like to see a Black man that's sharp. You know, sharp. So, little bit of background on this young gentleman. Actually, we see each other once in a while, and I mean once in a while. But I guess the most time I've ever spent with him, I don't know if he remembers. This must be about 5 or 6 years ago. He did a photo shoot for a lady named Charmaine at a very high-end men's clothing store.
Right, Bogarts. And gosh, I wish I had those pictures because I'd never looked so good, but part of the reason because he was taking the pictures.
This gentleman I'm so glad because I've never spent as long as I'm going to over the next 45 minutes with him. His name is Lawrence Kerr. He is an award-winning photographer based out of the Toronto area. He's been doing it for a long time. When people want high-end quality photography and great service done in the GTA, they turn to Lawrence Kerr.
I'm going to have to make my way out to Canada.
There you go, right? I don't know if he's international. He may be. I don't know. He's on the move so much. I don't know. But he's done some incredible stuff. But we're very blessed because a few weeks ago, he caught me on my Facebook Live. And then he actually contributed to comments on an epic conversation we're having on Stuff. And I asked him right there, can you come on the show? So we finally got him on because this guy is positive productive. He ain't busy. He's positive productive. And I'm shocked that he's actually standing still for a few moments without a camera in his hand. But we're blessed and highly favored on Stuff tonight to have Lawrence Kerr. Welcome, Lawrence. How you doing this evening? What's been going on?
Well, as I like to say, I'm always on the hustle, I'm grinding away. And, some people don't like that term, hustle. At a certain stage of your career, you really shouldn't be hustling anymore, but they'll never leave me. That's what I do. That's the thing I love most. So always.
How did you get started in the photography business?
Wow. I needed a hobby. I was moving to Atlanta from Toronto. I didn't know anyone there, so I said, what am I going to do? And how, it's a beautiful town, a city. To get to know it, I figured I would explore through the camera. So I really picked that up then. And I fell in love with the camera. And I started off with landscapes and taking pictures of stuff. And then I moved into events. So right before I left Toronto, I started doing a lot of events to practice and get used to the camera. And I kind of cut my teeth on that and became an event photographer. So I kind of combined that with my career as a sales and marketing representative for radio stations and was using my photography to help clients further their business. And just one thing led to another, went from hobby to a business. So I was actually doing a party. I didn't bring my camera one night because I just wanted to have fun. And the promoter said, where's your camera? I'm like, today. I said, I just want to have fun. He says, no, we need your pictures. We love your pictures. I'm like, oh, well, sorry. He said, we'll pay you. Because up to that point, it was something I was doing for free. And I said, pardon me. I went out to the car, got my camera, and the rest is history.
Wow.
So are you primarily an event photographer?
No, that's what I was for the first couple of years, but I've moved in the last couple of years, say, into headshots. And then I've worked more with corporates, businesses, people starting up something or changing their career. and then do branding consultations as well. So kind of marry the two things with your image and then also how to put that forward.
Excellent. Lawrence, what were the early years like?
I'd say lots of fun, because there were little expectations, really. I showed up, I took pictures, and I really did what I wanted to because they weren't paying me at first. And even still, when they were, it wasn't a large amount of money that there really wasn't a lot of expectation. So I got a lot of time to practice and hone my craft and really built my name. So to this day, people know who I am before they meet me. My logo, I've had that before I really had the business. I really started that aspect of my branding and associating myself with that. So a lot of fun. And, I laugh because I would always say I got paid to learn, which is a great opportunity, So developed working low lights, taking pictures of different people, complexion, shades, everything else. And I was getting paid to do that. So it was really good.
So as it speaks to people who are trying to maybe do the same thing as you did, so trying to get their name out, kind of grassroots, starting their businesses, how important is quality photos and quality headshots, and what does that look like for someone who's new? Do you understand what I mean? Maybe not at this stage, but kind of coming out and trying to start their business. How essential is it that they have quality photos, and then what does that look like?
Well, I'm going to put this nicely.
Just be honest, brother. Just be honest.
There's a market for everyone, quite honest. And a lot of what you'll find as you get into it, I've won 2 awards for my photography. I don't, there's no slouch or anything like that, but I'm not the best photographer in the city, by far. There's people I look at that are way better than me, but part of it is you're not selling your art as much as you're selling yourself. So once for myself, I know that people are buying me first and foremost.
Gotcha.
What they're getting as a bonus is the work that I do. That is a quality product, but it's not as essential for you starting your business. So you don't have to have the top camera. You don't have to be the best photo editor. You don't necessarily have the fastest turnaround in your service and everything else. It's really connecting with your clients and really making a promise to them. And whatever that is that they're looking for, that you will deliver. So, I have a promise that I'm going to deliver your most loved photos. Period. So when you post my picture, I want that, and it will be the number 1 most liked picture you have on your social media.
That's a good commitment. I like that.
So in this age when that's really important, and the likes and the engagement and everything else, that's where I've honed in on. So I make sure that is a quality image, but that they really, it shows them. It's their personality that shows through, and that I take the time to understand who their audience is, and I have an image that connects with that. So the number 1 thing is just to get out there and start shooting, develop a niche, a look or signature for yourself, and find people that like that. So you have 2 choices. You can either be a business and here's my product, buy it, or you can be an artist and say, here's my art. Here's my art, and you'll find a market for that. Or I'm a business, I'll find that market, and I'll give them a product based on what they're looking for. So it's really, you make your decision, business or art, or marry the both.
I like that.
We'll bounce back and forth because we're just doing a conversation here. For Lawrence, what do you feel was the first big turning point in your photography journey?
I'm going to shout out Jay Martin.
Yes.
Is a comedian that has been with me from the beginning of my career. And he called me one day and he said, Lawrence, I've got this big shoot, this big event coming up. I need a photographer. Can you do this for me? I'd never done anything like this at this point. And inside I'm saying no, but then I'm saying, yeah, sure, I can do it. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do this. So I had a temporary studio at Yonge Davisville, uptown Toronto, an office building that was vacant that I turned into a studio, which was just phenomenal. And Jay and his crew came out, and 5 of the top Black comedians in Canada. They dubbed themselves the 5 Kings of Comedy.
Yes, I remember. Yeah, I remember that. I remember
if you've ever with comedians, there's two people that I don't care about pets and kids, no problem. It's comedians and psychologists.
Oh.
Because one, you have the comedians, anything you say is going to be material for them at some point. Psychologists, they're evaluating everything you're saying. So, let my look left, look right, look straight, no fringe, and everything else. So, I'm there with 5 comedians, and lo and behold, I did wind up in somebody's act because some story I shared with them at that session, they wound up using on me. I'm like, oh, I can't believe they didn't use my name, which was okay, but
good.
And that was it. So went did that. It got published, and it was just phenomenal. So I didn't have the confidence in myself at the time to do that, but I had a client who saw something in me, in need that he needed filled, and said, Lawrence can do this, right? So right from there, I think it was Richard Branson had a quote said, someone makes an ask you to do something you don't have any idea how to do, just do it and figure it out as you go.
Yep. That's my life philosophy.
I can take that opportunity, and this really was for me. It's seize that moment at that time.
Excellent.
Carpe diem.
Jazz, go ahead.
So I'm definitely I'm always like a application person. I love when people can listen to our show. I love that mug. I love when people can listen to our show and feel like they can take something that might not be very specific to exactly them, but generalize it and make it, apply. So as we are talking about maybe those who are on the receiving end, so on the other side of your camera, how important is it that people have, not maybe the most expensive or anything like that, but how important is it as you're trying to grow your business that you have quality images of your event or your product? Because sometimes people think it's just headshots, but it's also like your product, you in action and motion. How important is it that people understand the value of quality photos as they're growing their businesses?
You know what? There's 2 sides of that, and I liken it to my website. When I first started, I did have a website because I had an idea of what I wanted my website to look like, and it was point and click, and you push on this part here and take you a different spot of the website. And then I found out how involved it was to develop and how much it would cost, and that didn't happen. So instead of just putting something up for now, I waited till I had my website that I wanted, and coincidentally, it's never happened. It's still not up. I finally got to the point where I just put something up for now, and then I wound up increasing or improving it over time. So there's a side of just get it up. Don't wait for perfect, because you need a lot of opportunity to market in that time. But at some point, you need to get those quality images at some point. If you can afford to do it in the beginning, great. If you can't, use your phone, take some pictures and get something up for now, because it is important to have those visuals and then plan to improve that over time. But it's really frustrating for me because I see some people that are public speakers, motivational speakers or whatnot, or have a product line, and their pictures are horrible. Right. And it's not just at the beginning. It's consistently. So, I not so politely or bluntly would say, hey, look, my name is Lawrence. I'm a professional photographer. I'd like to talk about polishing up your image. And
I like that.
In what way? And also point out that, the darkness, the this, that, and I'll send them what a good photo would look like for them. And I built clients on that because I'm not afraid to, be that outside person to say, you know what, you kind of need a little help with that. And we all need that. We all need that person who really can be honest and objective with us and not be a yes man. So that's me. I'll tell you the truth and be straight up and honest with you with that. But it is important. It's very important. The image is, that's the first thing people will see sometimes before they meet you. Mm-hmm. I met a lady this weekend. I was at an event, and she was did some cake pops and everything else. And I said, you know what? Give me your card. If I like the product, maybe somehow we'll do some business. And she said, okay, what about your card? And I said, miss, you don't need my card. And she said, really? And I said, I guarantee you, I'm going to tell you my name, and you're going to know who I am. Mm. And she said, really? And I said, Lawrence Kerr. She said, Lawrence Kerr Photography. And I walked away.
Dropped mic.
So unbelievably cocky, but I was, to some, but it was confident because I know in that market, in those circles, my name is known. So from that, what precedes in knowing my name and being out there, they know what they're going to get. That value, that branding, everything else that's done has paid off over the last couple of years. So.
Isn't that an amazing journey to go from like not having the confidence to shoot the comedians and someone seeing it in you to being like, oh, you know my name, like that really speaks to the journey of I've put in that work now, I've put in that footwork. Yeah.
I was coming back from Florida a couple of years ago, and the custom agent picked up my passport, and she said, Lawrence Kerr Photography, and my dad was there, and I'm like, yeah, and she's like, you did my cousin's shots for his business, and I'm like, oh, that's great, and everything else. So I'm thinking, I'm gonna get a pass now because I have a collection of bags. But it's really it's getting to that point where people know who I am, and I'm still a little freaked out by it at some point because it's so random, But yeah, it's nice. It really is.
Lawrence, let me ask you something. We're talking about branding here. When did you realize and recognize how important branding was to your business? Was that something right out of the box, or was it something that you found out and just pushed it from there?
Right out the gate. Okay. I'm a student of marketing. I have a honors degree in marketing and business administration from New York University. So that's who I am. That side of me, from coming from a sales and marketing background.
Right.
Like I said, I had a logo when it was a hobby. So I had that branding before I knew my colors. I knew what it would look like. I wanted it to look like. Shout out to Ian Andre Espinay.
Yes.
I think it was the last logo he's ever done because he just doesn't do them anymore. But wow. I was very lucky and fortunate to have that, and it's something I've grown with. So it went from Lawrence Kerr Photography to now it's Lawrence Kerr Media. So yeah, very important to have that, and to know that this is the image and what I put out, and people know that no matter what it is, it's going to be fun. And this is probably why I don't do funerals. So that's a part of my branding. It's fun. It's the process, the everything that you have in doing that it's the fun, and I connect and get to know my clients, so I can help them put on an image that reflects them. So extremely important to know your brand, and then know that you are your brand as a small business. How you present yourself to the world is, that's how your brand will be taken.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Jazz.
I really like just you being able to kind of bring just this very level, just rawness to it. And I like your approaches. I think anytime we are in the field of, like you said, kind of marrying that art and business, you do have to be very innovative and very creative. As you have gotten to this point, what are some tips that you have for growing your brand to the point where it is, and I'm asking for those who are listening, and then of course I'll soak up some of it because you're dropping them today, but in the sense of being able to build that brand where people know who you are before they know the physical you, what does that footwork look like? What are some tips you can offer?
First and foremost, there's some debate for some people in some circles as whether or not you are your brand. I will tell you, the sooner that you figure out what that is and what branding is and what that means to you,
right,
is the best part. So whether you are your brand or not, it's knowing that, because then your brand is the persona of your business that you put out there, right? So and being the sole proprietor, I am my brand. So that is very important. So knowing that, when I'm going to the grocery store, I was at Costco a couple of weeks ago, and I saw a friend from high school, and he said, hey, you know what? You look like an award-winning photographer, because I'm dressed as I am. And this, when you see that, and I present that, now people looking around and say, oh, who is this guy? And so it's very important to know that in everything that you do, when you wake up in the morning, and how you present yourself to the world, that is how you're going to be taken, and it really reinforces your brand. So to know that, go through the process of figuring out your values and what's important to you. So, you have your beliefs that are assumptions, and then you have your values, which are based on long-standing beliefs. Mm-hmm. Now, marry those two together, and that's your brand. So from a personal standpoint, and a one-on-one in working on yourself, really knowing what your values are, and then the value proposition that shows you what the extra money that someone's going to spend on your brand over another, and why they choose you over another is based on that branding. And knowing what your values is extremely important. So there is a little bit of soul searching that you go through in doing this, and this is when I go through the consultations with people. We really break it down to who they are, and then figure out their niche, and go from there. So it's really important.
Lawrence, question for you. You've been on this journey for a number of years. Has customer knowledge changed about what you do over the years?
Yes.
How has it changed?
I think part the expectations will change. So for in general, people will expect with a photographer that there's a certain level of editing that may be involved. There's a capability of understanding lighting. They'll bring me a picture and say, I want a picture that looks like this. And they don't understand to dissect that and to be able to do that. But from a customer standpoint, they, for the most part, mine know what they want. And in part because we go through the consultation to, I'll ask them how they want to be photographed. It's really important. And they're like, what do you mean?
Okay,
So,
Lawrence, just let me interrupt. Has a consultation always been part of your process from day one, or was that something you added in along the way?
I've added it in.
Okay.
Now, it was more informal, where I'd ask, basic questions about their niche and everything else. And there's always been that consultation. But now what I've done is taken that to the next level and do a branding consultation. So they get a basic consultation regardless. If they go through the branding consultation, it's about an hour and a half process. I really get into, understanding them, understanding their business, and, again, getting to the values, which, and again, having done that with a psychologist, I'm sitting there and I'm dissecting their story and the niche and everything else. I'm asking her questions, and she's like, wow, that's really great. I never thought of that. And I'll actually share one with you, the two of you right now, if you don't mind, really quickly.
Take your time.
James Ert, he did this at an event I was at, and it was phenomenal. And it's really become part of the cornerstone of what I do with the consultations. So he asks you your favorite animal. So the two of you can think about your favorite animal, what that would be.
Okay. You want to give
Elephant.
Okay.
Cheetah.
Okay. And the second one would be what?
You mean second choice?
Yeah, elephants and cheetahs have now been, they're extinct. What would your second choice be?
Ooh.
Dolphin.
Okay.
I'll go with a koi fish.
Ooh. Koi fish and elephants are gone now.
So are dolphins gone from my list too?
Dolphin it is.
I like dolphin.
Okay. Jazz?
So you said koi fish is gone?
Yep.
And elephant is gone?
Yeah.
Okay. A black panther.
Ooh.
Okay. So this is where it gets fun. So the first animal is how you present yourself to the world. And you look at the characteristics of that. So
very nice.
A cheetah, and Jazz, an elephant. So then you look at the characteristics of it, but you focus more on positive and not the negative. Because women that say elephant, like, oh, so you're calling me fat? It's not about that, but the knowledge, the loyalty, their strength. So you look at that for the cheetah. Automatically think of the speed, but people don't know, or some people don't know about the nurturing nature of the cheetah and how the moms they're single parents. So they fight and they protect their cubs like no other animal because they're small. So the other animals kind of take their food once they catch it. So there's a lot of things about that. For one, I have to learn about a lot of animals to be able to do this.
Yes.
So koi fish, I know nothing about, but that's something I'd have to go back and look at. But for the second animal, it's how the world sees you. So the characteristics of the koi fish and the elephant, and that's how the world sees you. The third element really is how you really are. So Jazz, Black Panther, the dolphin. So, you look at the panther, their strength, their stealth, intelligence. You look at the dolphin, again, they're, probably one of the smartest animals in the animal kingdom, right? And their ability to communicate, go figure.
Yes.
Right? So, and there it is. So once we do that, and kind of as an icebreaker, and really sets a tone of who you present yourself to be, what the world sees you as, and then the core, who you truly are.
I love that, because it's wonderful to see that you have a process. And,
I like that.
And it's really good. And how essential is process to your success?
It's everything. If once I learned and adopted a workflow, that made a huge difference, because I'm not the most organized person. So I would take on
creatives.
And you know what? Not only that, double down on that.
Three of us. All
okay.
We're three kids of different mothers.
I know, right?
And a Pisces. So you take those three things together.
Oh gosh, a dreamer.
Yeah. So having a process of how I approach my clients, and really I know that I'm a salesperson every day. First and foremost, I'm not a photographer. That's secondary. I'm a salesperson. I'm selling myself, and I'm selling my work, and I'm selling how I can help my clients. So I know that I have to solve a problem. There's a That's how I stay relevant. Yes. Otherwise, people just take pictures of their phones and their selfies and whatnot. But knowing that, so what do I need to do to stay relevant? But then also in my workflow, to be able to manage several projects at one time. Between doing weddings, headshots, events. Yeah. You know what? For myself, my downtime, the spare time, it's editing. I don't really make it work. So I throw on some music. I throw on, right now, I'm power watching Game of Thrones.
Okay.
And then I'm doing that.
That's how I do when I have to do like invoices and all the tedious stuff. I just throw on something on TV. You have to.
I use soulful house music. I'm a soulful house music guy. I just put it on and I'm good to go. To go.
Yeah.
Jazz?
Okay. No, I think you made, and I kind of got sidetracked making that comment, but there was a point that you made that I wanted to bring up, and I'm going to have to come back to it because it just kind of dropped from my head. But I will ask you the question in the context of, I do remember. You talked about being a salesman, and one of the things I think is important, I guess it's more of a comment, is that one of the things I think any business owner, creative person who's trying to turn their art into a profit, or anyone who has a passion for something, one thing I think is really important is that we do need to recognize that every time we encounter a person that is potentially using our service or our product or buying into our business, it is a sales element, and you're able to strengthen that sales element when you kind of have the faith in what you're able to offer. And so one of the things that I can really appreciate about you is that the sales doesn't even feel salesy, because like by the time you get done talking and by the time you are, doing this consultation and even just being on the show, it's like, I know this man is going to deliver, what he says it is. And I think that is a extremely important, value that some people miss. How do you get to that point where you are that? And I know I'm probably asking a question that I'm going to answer myself, but how do you get to that point where you are able to sell yourself in a way that is just what it is? It's not salesy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. I think, for one, you have to believe in yourself. So I just put up a quote the other day. Why would you expect others to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself first?
Yep. Very true.
And it's so important. But as a creative and any business person, I think one of the other things we have to get over, we have to develop that level of confidence in ourselves. Mm-hmm. But then also, and I was just having a conversation with a friend about this the other day, and they couldn't understand why they felt guilty about the amount they were charging for something. Mm-hmm. I said, we have to eliminate money blocks. because we have these money blocks that we feel guilty because all I did was take a picture and I spent a little time, cleaned it up, and I gave it to you, and now I'm asking you for $750. What? Wow. Well, I feel kind of awkward about that. So there's that level of guilt. But because we don't have confidence or we haven't developed our self-worth as a business person, know that this is what I'm worth, and say, and add tax.
Add tax.
It's really important. So once we've done that and get over that psychology of, I can't put my financial situation into your financial situation. If you want to spend this much, just as I'm charging, I shouldn't feel that it's, because I wouldn't spend that much, or I couldn't spend that much on something. I shouldn't charge someone for it. So, and this is something especially creatives have a challenge with, because, I'm selling my art and kind of feel dirty and I shouldn't do this. There is the business of art. And, so you either are going to be a pure artist, you're going to put work out, and people will gravitate and find it, or you're going to be that business person and say, look, there's this need for X, Y, Z, or create the need for it. The pieces hanging on the wall. Someone put that together and said, yeah, there's a need for these pieces, and we wound up saying, hey, I like those. Identify with those.
What is up, everybody? We are back. We had a little bit of a difficulty. I'll be totally transparent. My computer shut down. It crashed. So,
it wasn't my fault this time.
Not this time. So Jazz is innocent this time. It's all on my shoulders. So it was me. So we're back with Lawrence, and I have some fun editing to do after all this. But I would just, before we went boop, I was just sharing that with entrepreneurs, it's one thing that when you start your venture, you charge a price for your service. When you get really good at it, like Lawrence is, I'm sure Lawrence doesn't charge the same price he did when he started.
No, actually, there are a few that have been grandfathered, so they are very, very, very lucky. I just, honestly, they've been with me since the beginning, and I've increased them, but they're nowhere near where everyone else is, and they appreciate that. I honestly respect the loyalty that they've shown me in helping me get to where I am. So,
cool. Yeah, I tell people all the time in business coaching that it's not about lowering your price; it's about you increasing your value. So, if there's a discrepancy in what people are willing to pay, or you being able to attract your customer, that's your responsibility to look and see where you need to either increase the value, increase the way that you communicate the value, or be okay with recognizing that if people don't want to pay for what you're worth, they're not your ideal clientele. Okay. So, yeah.
Lawrence, let me ask another interesting conversation piece with you. These days, what percentage of your business is referral compared, because when you started off, you had to grind. You said at the beginning of our conversation, you still have to grind, but what percentage of your business now is referral?
Wow, it's some people don't like to disclose how they came to find me, and honestly, sometimes I forget to ask. So I would say, if I'm being realistic with the number or the amount, I'd probably say I'm about 40%, maybe close to 50%. Nice. And it's part why I don't actually pay for advertising.
Don't need to.
I'm pretty deliberate with my social media and what I put out and how I put things out, in enticing people as to why they'd want to use me. But then also, I make sure the level of service that I get and I give people that they're going to want to refer me. And I'm very appreciative of people that do.
Excellent. Jazz?
Delivering excellence, that's a huge factor. Absolutely.
At the end of the day, it's and why are they going to choose me over someone else? And I find it really interesting. Before I really was more deliberate with the branding and the marketing I was putting out in my current phase of the business, as going through and doing business branding consultations. People, I'd probably go as far as saying 90% of my clients are people that are starting a business, changing their career, or have something they want to announce. And it's not, there are some people that just come for a fun shoot. They want to do a boudoir shoot or something else. But the core are people that have something they want to share with the world. And they come to me and they don't realize, at first why, but it's because of what I do to help promote and really understanding them and their needs and helping them to craft that image that helps to communicate that. So in my branding, I've done that in a very, I guess, in a low-key way that is not hammering them over the head with it. But from time to time, I do be very direct and very blunt and deliberate with my message about that. But most of it is, it's not very salesy. So they don't feel like they've been sold when, we do business or we first speak.
Nice. Jazz?
No, I think that just as I really appreciate, and I can only imagine what your consultations seem like, because even the little snippet that you gave us earlier in the show, but just kind of the sources for really just valuable tips and secrets in growing and branding have been excellent, as far as even on this receiving end, not being in photography, but feeling like I have some things that I can apply. So I definitely appreciate you being open and willing to share kind of how you navigated from where you started to this point.
Well, I came up with an acronym and, of a way of being, and it's HOT. And, people are like, good, Lawrence, you're hot. But it's really, it's honest, open, and transparent.
Like
so that people really, in sharing myself, but again, in being able to connect, they know that and they feel that when they're dealing with me. So I think that's, it's very important. And so with my social media, I started sharing more about myself and I like to do my interests, not just my work, so that it really helps to make that connection with people.
I know you've probably had challenging shoots in your journey. Could you just highlight one of the challenging shoots that you had to overcome?
Well, you know what? There have been a few, and these are things that, every situation is a learning opportunity. And one I think I learned the most from was I had an Asian family coming for a portrait session in my studio. Now, my studio is located in the basement of a salon. So I emphasize on, it's not where the magic happens, it's just the fact the magic happened. So, but at the time, I didn't really think about that. I thought just, hey, I do great work. It doesn't matter where I do it. But the important thing was I had to let people know that ahead of time. So the family comes in. I met the daughter at an event I was doing. So she said, hey, they just had a baby and they wanted to do a family portrait. They had family over in from China. If we could, all come together. I'm like, sure, come down to the studio. There's 12 of them in total.
Wow.
And they came. It was after hours, but at the time the shop was closed. So upstairs it was vacant. We came to in the basement. Everyone comes in, files in, but the dad stops at the door. Then we got down the stairs, put his hand behind his back, and he wasn't taking another step forward. He stood at the door and looked in and had this look like, where have they brought me?
Wow.
And so she said, don't worry about my dad. So we start shooting. Now, part of my process, when you take the pictures, you get to see it in real time. So then you have an idea of what it's going through. Instead of taking a bunch of pictures and then I send you the link and then later you say, I don't like the pictures. You know right then and there if you like them or not. So the dad sees the pictures on the screen and then the smile, and he ventures in to get closer as he's seeing the screen. He pushes everyone out of the way to see the screen, and it was good. So I realized how important it is for people, and I can't assume they all know what my work is before they come to the studio. I need to make sure that I've communicated with them what my process is and have an idea of what the quality or the level of work that I produce beforehand, or it's going to be a nightmare. Because, had another lady came in and she wanted to be completely airbrushed. I don't do that type of editing myself.
Right.
That's something I may send out, but I take pictures that look like you. I'll clean them up a little bit, with blemishes and whatnot, but I'm not taking 20 pounds off your picture. If that's not, that if you need that, I'm not your photographer.
Right.
Quite honestly, because when people see you, you're going to look like the picture. They'll be able to recognize you. You won't be a different individual altogether. So it's really important in, communicating, but, letting them know really and having an idea of what their expectations are and managing them from the beginning is really important.
So for young people, especially African heritage people who want to, or best people who want to get into this business, what are some things that you would say these are things you should do because you have evaluated experience? So what sort of suggestion or tips would you be willing to give out right now?
Well, one, it's funny. I taught a class earlier this year, so I had 4 students, high school students, come through the program,
right?
And really to understand, yourself first, so that you know what you're comfortable with. You're going to be in situations where you're, different people, different ethnic groups or whatnot, but to have an idea of who you want to work with and what that process will look like. Don't get caught up in the technical side of things and the equipment, the gear trap. Like, oh, there's a new camera, I need to get that, or there's a new lens or everything else. The best camera you have is the one that you have. Don't worry about everything else. You'll get there. Some of the best images I've ever taken are my old point and shoot camera that I have, as far as ones that I like and people have responded to. So don't get caught up in that, and then take time to learn. It's a never-ending process, and that's one thing you have to know in getting into this into photography. As equipment change and technology changes, you're going to have to continually upgrade.
Excellent. Well, we lost Jazz for a second, but we've got her back.
Hey, there I am.
Good stuff. No problem. So, Jazz, do you have any other final questions, comments for Lawrence before we let him go?
No, I don't really. I think that he's been extremely thorough and, again, just very concise and giving us a lot of great tips that apply to those who are behind the camera like himself, and even those who are building and growing their brand on the other side of the camera using services. So I just thank you for the insight that you've offered tonight. And I know we've had some crazy technical difficulties, but you stuck it out like a champ. So I appreciate that as well.
Lawrence, before we let you go, if I'm a consumer and I'm looking for a good photographer, whether it's you or someone else, are there some core questions they should ask that photographer?
Absolutely. To get an idea of their process, again, so, you're not waiting for a year to get your pictures, how long it will take for them to turn around, to get a sample of their work that they've done, current, and some of the past work as well. And so if there's a particular type photo that you want, if they have something like it that they could show you, but then also, to get an idea of comparatively, not necessarily from the technical side of things that the cameras that they're using, but again about the process is really important. Don't get caught up in if they don't have the latest camera, but really an understanding of their training and education that they've had. So whether they're self-taught or anything else, having an idea of where how they learned what they know.
Yeah, I feel like a photographer is like a good doctor or a good mechanic. Like when you find a good photographer, you kind of have to stick with them, because to me, it's about who can make you feel naturally comfortable in front of that camera and who can bring out the elements that you have in your personality that you want to be able to showcase through a picture. Because even though, me in my field, I am constantly in front of people, I'm actually very camera shy. So being able to find a photographer that allows you to kind of bring down some of those guards and feel comfortable, that's bigger than anybody who can tell you accolades and achievements and things for days. So yeah, I think that's a huge element, is to see their work, and then who's going to represent, who's going to be able to represent you through the photo, but that takes somebody willing to connect with you. So yeah, absolutely.
And that point you made there is right on point, because when you look at it, it's not about making you look beautiful, it's making you feel beautiful. And once that you hit that on you make that connection, everything else falls from there. So if they're uncomfortable being in front of the lens or whatnot, that knowing that they're feeling it, it translates into pictures. So that's really, really important.
All right. Well, that is another epic conversation we do called Stuff That's on most Wednesday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Time with Ms. Jazz Keys, free of technical. Well, she did have a technical challenge this week.
I know. I just couldn't get through one show without it right.
And
That's
myself.
what I get for bragging.
Right. Be careful. Be careful. Don't hate on Dr. Vibe. You see what happens? I'm telling you.
I know.
Well, Lawrence, again, I'd like to thank you for taking time from your positive, productive schedule to share with us. You're welcome back anytime you want to come back on. If people want to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
Well, the website is, and the mobile app is at Lawrence Kerr Photography. You can get the app at the Play Store and the Google apps as well. And the website, lawrencekerrphotography.com. And Lawrence Kerr Photography is the Instagram page.
Excellent. Jazz, how can people contact you?
I am available on all social media at Jazz Keys, JAZZKEYS. My website, www.jazzkeys.com. Pretty easy to find. Name is pretty simple to remember. Jazz Keys on all social media platforms.
There you go. And that's Keys, E-S, not S, right?
Right.
Yes.
KEYES.
There you go. There you go. Well, I've got the most to say, but I'm getting it down real tight. So, first of all, thanks for everyone watching live or on the replay, and especially if you tolerated this live, you deserve a gold star, big time. Now, if you want to listen to my epic conversations like this one with Jazz via audio, you can go to my website, www.thedrvibeshow.com. You can also listen at Apple Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music Store. There's also iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Stitcher Radio. You can watch replays of these type of conversations on my YouTube channel, which is the _Vibe show. I am also a certified empowerment coach, and if you'd like a complimentary empowerment session at the with Dr. Vibe, which some people in England last week have now signed up for, you can catch me at DRVIBESHOW on Twitter. That's a Twitter handle. Email me again, dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com, or you can fill out the contact page on my website. Also know I am a brand ambassador for the only online magazine dedicated to African Americans in food, wine, and travel, CuisineNoirMag.com. That's Cuisine Noir Magazine. Also, new service opportunity I just launched because I got to raise enough shekels to pay some time for Lawrence Kerr. It's long overdue. It's called Getting Media Coverage. And what I do is I help entrepreneurs and businesses get media coverage so they can elevate their business and their sales.
Nice.
So that is just onboarded the second client yesterday. So that is very, very good news. So follow up with 3 last things. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. And also sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. God bless. Peace, well, keep the faith. God willing, with no technical challenges, we'll be back again next week on this epic show called Stuff. International conversations with a black lady and a black man with our POV included. God bless, peace be well, and keep the faith.